Okay, so let's read through step 2 together. I'm going to add missing requirements and give you tips and strategies. So basically, you are going to be writing a paragraph. Your paragraph should be well organized. The idea should be well organized, logical, easy to follow. Why you're making one point at one, why you're expressing an idea at one point, and then why you go on to make another point. Um, Notice that I have here, I'm going to get rid of that period after the video. Do you think high schools should teach? Oh, also, make sure that you do your best to avoid sentence fragments, comma splices, and run-on sentences. Make sure that you string words together in a way that shows a command of English grammar and whatnot, and writing, that is. So the main question is, do you think high schoolers or high schools should teach Aristotle's notion of the golden mean, that is moral virtue, and the need to avoid extreme behaviors, excess and deficit? So keep in mind that accuracy when I am grading will definitely come into play. In the lecture video that you followed for either item 1 or 2 in this very task, I went over Aristotle's notion of the golden mean, that is moral virtue, and what he means by avoiding extreme behaviors in terms of excess and deficiency. So as you're using these terms, I will be looking to make sure that you do not misrepresent him or distort how he uses the words golden mean, moral virtue, behavior, extreme behavior, what he means by excess and deficit, especially in relation to vice. If you do think that high schoolers or high schools should be taught Aristotle's notion of the golden mean, then I want you to come up with 2 character traits or virtues that you think high schoolers should learn about. Not only learn about like a definition for and read, with examples, but actually practice throughout the entire time that they are in high school. What do you think are 2 virtues or character traits that if no other 2, that these are 2 that they learn and practice throughout their entire high school experience in every single year? So name them, and then tell me, why do you think the virtues that you have named should be taught? So when I ask you for the why, I want you to give me the why for each virtue. So I don't want one sentence that covers both virtues. I want you to give me reasons for each virtue. Okay, so give me reasons that are specific to that virtue that you name, or character trait that you name. If you want to research, Google character traits, virtues, high school curriculum. You can do that. If you do that, include your sources. If it seems like that you're using external sources and not citing, you're going to end up and I see that and I find that, then you'll end up getting a 0 for this entire task. And of course, things could get worse if you look at my course policies. But you can definitely do some research. Just note that you've done research and what sources you've used, and remember to use quotation marks if you copy something verbatim. That said, you do not have to do your research. You can just use the lessons that were given in the reading and the lecture videos in your own mind, in your own thinking, to express your opinions. They are your opinions. You get to say which virtues, if any, you think should be taught, and you get to give me your opinions as to why each virtue itself should be taught. Make sure when you're giving me the why for each virtue that you are giving me at least 2 sentences of explanation/reasoning. Now, if you don't think the moral virtue should be taught, and I need to clean this up, I was actually editing this and realized I hadn't done the video, and now I see I need to finish the sentence. You'll have it by the time you get to it. If you don't think that moral virtue should be taught in high school, then you need to tell me why you don't think moral virtue should be taught in high school. If this is you, I'm going to want you to cite the definition that you were either given in the reading or in a lecture on what moral virtue is according to Aristotle, and then you have to give me at least 4 sentences worth of reasoning, explanation, elaboration. I want you to defend the claim that Aristotle's notion of the golden mean and hence golden mean and hence virtue, moral virtue, should not be taught. So you'll have to give me at least 4 sentences. Now, whatever you decide to do with this, remember it's very important to incorporate wording from the questions or prompts, question stems or prompts. So for example, your first sentence will be, I do think high school should teach, or I don't think high school should teach. Or similar to what we did with the mandatory writing assignment, you could say, it's not rational for me to take a definite stance on whether Aristotle's notion of the golden mean, blah, 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 should be taught to high schoolers, or whether high schoolers could do that. Do you see opposing sides? Is that why? Well, what are the two opposing sides? Of course, you might get into this. But whatever you say in response to this, while it is your opinion about whether or not we should teach Aristotle's stuff to high schoolers in any way, as you're discussing that, you should not misrepresent Aristotle. You should not distort him. If you make a claim about Aristotle, it should be accurately, precisely, and clearly stated or implied. So, in a way, even though you're giving an opinion, you can still err in terms of how you represent Aristotle when giving your opinion. Now, that has to do with why you think it's important to include Aristotelian education. You can pick any two character traits you want if you think we should teach that, or high schools should teach that to their students. And you can give your own opinion as to why. I'm just saying, as you discuss that, make sure you don't misrepresent Aristotle or anything like that. Okay, and I'll add the rest of this prompt here. I think that's all I have to say for this part.